If you're new to our channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird. We are in the front yard garden. I figured it was an opportunity to show you what we have growing on here. A garden that you do not see a lot of on our videos, as this is kind of the overflow of what we have left over. You predominantly see the large garden in the videos. So let's kind of take a look at this bed. This garden here is 5 foot wide by 40 foot long, so 200 square feet. In addition to the fence that we have, we can pick up an extra about 160 square feet by utilizing the vertical aspect of the fence. So where this garden is located in transition to the large garden, it's about 30 miles difference, and we're much closer to Lake Michigan, which in turn allows this garden to be about 3 to 4 weeks in some aspects behind the large garden, because the large garden is set more inland than where we're at here. So let's just take a look at what we've got growing on. We've got the garlic that is getting ready to be harvested in the next day or two. It's a little bit, we're a little late on that. As you can see, the lower leaves are dying back, and we have harvested the scapes. Now, behind the garlic, we've got a number of varieties of cucumbers growing up the fence that are exploding because of the warmth and the water that they've received. In this mangle of plant life, we've got some deal that's still coming up voluntarily from about 8 years ago when we had it in containers up here. And then we also have onions growing in amongst weeds. This is some ragweed, as well as we have a tremendous amount of purslane growing in the front yard garden. Many people will grow this for health properties and benefits, actually buy the seed and grow it. We have it naturally coming up, and it comes up naturally in a lot of places because when it gets really wet, that's how it, that's the key to this very dampness in the soil. That's the importance of the purslane. So then we've got in here, we've got 2 rows of bush beans. We've got some yellow pod beans and some green beans. Now, these beans can be harvested at any time. However, you want to harvest them when they're young, such as this, before the bean begins to form inside of the pod, because if that occurs, the plant is beginning its shutdown process and focusing on strictly the bean seed production rather than the production of vegetable that you would want to be consuming. So behind that, we've got more cucumbers, and you can see a lot of flowers here. We got bees already actively pollinating. There's some honeybees there, or a smaller bee there. And then we've got 2 yacons here. Yacons are a root vegetable from South America. They have a tuber that you harvest and you save the rhizomes in order to grow the next year. These we've been growing for 6 years now. Saving the rhizomes. So we've got 2 of those there. We've got 12 at the large garden as well. Then we get into our tomato patch. We've got a couple of brandywines here. Brandywines are identified by the leaf structure compared to these leaves here. They're all tomatoes, but it's 2 different types of varieties. This here is a potato that is a volunteer from last year. We had a row of potatoes here. We've actually got 2 potatoes that have grown here. We got a fence here to protect from the rabbits. So with a volunteer potato, you can do a couple of things. When you see it come up, you can get rid of it right away. But if you didn't have any diseases last year, go ahead and let it grow. Harvest it, you get a bonus crop. So here we've got 4 tomato plants there. Behind them we've got pole beans, Blue Lake pole beans. And then we've also got some very nice peppers here. We've got 3 peppers in amongst the tomatoes. We packed this in pretty tight. These have done very well. We do have a lot of weeds that we are just dealing with. And in amongst all of the vegetation here, we've got a lot of radishes going seed. Now, these radishes were planted multiple years ago, and they have just reseeded and reseeded and reseeded. And we harvest the volunteer ones that come up, and obviously there are more here than we can deal with, so they go to seed. Now, these are edible. You can eat them now. They taste just like the radish, or you can pickle them, refrigerator pickle them safely, or you can let them dry, and then when you open them up, they'll be like a cardboard styrofoam texture, And it's not in this one here because they're not developed, but there are about 6 to 8 seeds in each pod. So number of things you can do with your radishes instead of just letting them go to seed or pulling them up when they start to go to seed. We've got a couple of more volunteer potatoes here, 2 smaller tomato plants because they were planted later in amongst the dill. And then I've got 3 tomato plants here that never did get caged. So, you know, just because we show you videos, we do forget and do not get around to doing certain things. So those are still growing, they're producing, just not as strong. And then as we get into this portion of the garden, you can see behind me, the pine trees are encroaching over the garden. From here over to the white fence there, that used to be a usable area. Now it's just kind of gone to vegetation. There's a lot of, there's some chives back there, some leaf lettuce that's going to seed here, and the pole beans that are reaching away to get to the sunlight. So this portion here is kind of limited to almost no growth capabilities because of the lack of sunlight. Now in here we've got radish going to seed. We've got, I guess this is like a watercress, a water weed that has grown here because this is the lower laying areas of the garden. Some purple cabbage, some green cabbage. I got a little kale here, and then on the back side here I've got cucumbers that are growing. The reason why they're stunted is because we had a giant radish plant laying over most of them, so I pulled that back to allow them to get more sunlight in the evening. We get a tremendous amount of sunlight from about noon, 1 p.m. onward, and it gets cool, and we don't have a whole lot of sunlight in the morning because of the house and other trees. So just to look at our front yard garden, this is a great indication of that you don't have to have a lot of space to do a lot of stuff. We've packed a lot of things in this very small area that you can also do, whether you're renting, you own, or you want to utilize as many spaces in your property, on your property, as you possibly can. As always, thanks for watching. Remember to rate, subscribe, and comment.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.